Hi, I'm Scotty from Strange Parts, and you're listening to the Scene World podcast.
All right, welcome to the Scene World podcast.
Yeah, hey, it's me. He's him. It's the Scene World podcast. This is not where I am in the interview. This is a different place.
But it looks wonderful.
This is actually the bedroom where I got my very first C64 against. There's a picture that I have of me playing with my 64, and that is against this wall over here in that
nice
corner.
Keyboard.
Yes. My grandmother is a good player.
Nice.
So today, in a minute, we're talking to Pleasant Green. Yes, we're talking to Ben Taylor, Pleasant Green on YouTube. That's just a second from now. In the meantime, I don't know if we have too much news going on.
And Pleasant Green doesn't have anything to do with Crater.
No, I do have my dog.
Nice. What's with their tongue, by the way?
He has no teeth.
Oh.
So his tongue.
By accident?
No, they were just really bad when we got him. So
Ooh.
Yeah, so they ended up taking them out, and he's a much happier guy for it.
Ooh.
But his tongue sticks out now.
Okay. And that's because he has no teeth.
Yeah, no teeth to hold it in.
Ooh. And that doesn't make anything bad to the tongue?
Nope.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So now we got pet lovers subscribing us. Hey,
yeah.
Nice. Nice.
This is Elmer. He has an Instagram. It's Elmer's World. He has about he's got like 1,500 followers.
Nice.
So everyone, I will put the link to that right down there, so everybody can check him out.
We did last time, but you didn't tell people.
We put him in all the time. Ever since Lily Stitches said that she wanted to kiss his face.
Oh, nice.
or what did she say? She was like, I want to kiss him on the mouth or something weird like that.
Ooh.
This took a turn. I want to kiss it on the mouth. That's weird.
But how could you not want to? Look at that face.
Sweet.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, there's a new magazine coming up. Plast Annual 2020. Okay. And if you are a Scene World fan, which I hope you are, when you're listening to this.
I am.
Yeah, well, then get the magazine, read it. Hint, hint.
Cool, I will.
We will put link to that in the description. It's still in the making, but it's promising.
Very nice.
Well, anything that Andrew Fisher writes for is promising, isn't it? How did you say it once? You said he is a brand of himself already.
Yes, he is a. He is a brand all unto himself. He's done a lot of stuff. He's all over the place.
Yeah,
he's a professional. We're just goofing around. That guy knows what he's doing.
He knows much more about video games than I do.
He does.
And people,
he does. He knows way more than I do.
People tell me that I know a lot already, but I'm like on a good foundation, and I know a lot. And then there is Andrew, who's writing books about this topic. You know, and contributing editor to Retro Gamer UK. So anyway. So what else?
Last podcast we did was with Micronics. They are making a new mechanical keyboard.
Exactly. Yes.
At the time of this recording, there's about 6 days left. So by the time you guys hear it at home, there might be 3 days left. And right now they have gone up. They have gone from 70 some backers to 101. They're still not quite at their goal. I would recommend, I think I'm going to pledge for it tonight. I would recommend people go check it out if you haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah.
Because it is cool.
Hopefully we can make it happen. There were over 1,000 people listening to this episode, so guess people were interested in it.
Yeah. I was really interested. I think it's a really cool looking thing, and the way that they did it, just looking at the way that they've gone about, getting the supply chain and working all that stuff is really
I think it's
pretty
totally
amazing.
amazing that we spoke to the Chinese person who makes the technical side all happening.
Mhm.
That was totally unique.
Definitely. And I hope, again, as we mentioned while we talked to them, that I hope that if it doesn't work on Kickstarter, that they do go with something like Indiegogo or something where you got flexible funding and can still do it, because I don't know. I hope they meet their goal. They're still a bit short of it.
So I guess right now she's just waiting for what happens and then
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
back to us afterwards, hopefully. But
Mhm.
hey, you got our support.
Yeah.
So what else we got? Yeah, well, I pledged for the Earthworm Jim comic book
I remember
from
that.
Doug Ten Naple, and he actually announced 2 days ago that it started shipping. That's
Hmm.
pretty amazing. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Also, the Pelotronic magazine released, I think it was the last issue because it was considered a small magazine project, also
Mhm.
from Indiegogo, and I just got the last issue last Saturday. So things are going well there. Yeah.
Hmm.
And still, we didn't hear from Phase 5, our keycaps project from
Yeah.
Austria.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
That's
that's
so sad. That's so sad. It's interesting that you managed to mention it in the last podcast because you didn't have me the second half to help you with facts, but you got it all correct. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Retro Man Cave. A guy named Neil. He's got a YouTube channel. I suppose. Um, they just did an interview with Rob Hubbard. So we've talked to
Oh,
Rob Hubbard in the past a couple of
two
times now,
times.
actually.
Two
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
So that's another cool. And the guy's he's on fire at the moment. It's kind of a Rob Hubbard renaissance.
Okay.
So everyone should go check that out too. Because it's not a podcast. It's not a competing channel because we're all in this together. But it's
Oh. Well, I never had this sense of competing.
no,
Um.
it's too small a scene to compete in.
Well, I think still we had a part in making the scene bigger. I
Mhm.
mean, seeing that Peru got more active into the game again
Yeah,
with
yeah.
meetings and stuff,
Hmm.
like our meeting report from March, which we had in the last Scene World issue.
Right.
So I'm still hyped for that.
Hmm.
When I have to think about that, 19 years ago, when I started this all, everybody was telling me, "Oh,
90 years
America,
ago?
Canada."
90
19
years?
years, 19
19,
years ago.
19 years ago. Okay, I thought you said
19 years ago.
90. I was like, no, I
19.
don't think I'm that old.
I'm 19.
Yeah, but sometimes it feels like I've been doing this for 90 years. But
People were telling me outside of Europe, there's no activity anymore. So as we see, there's activity. So I'm still happy that we went with this. And hey, next year's our 20th anniversary. Hey! And as
so hang on,
this is
we'll put those the air horns right here.
yeah, nice. And as this is our last regular podcast, because we close the year with the Gamescom Steam World special.
Mhm.
And so this is our last regular one for this year. So
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Do you have anything else?
No, I guess it's
Okay.
pretty nice.
Okay.
And I have to say, I'm very happy about this interview with Pleasant Green, aka Ben Taylor, because it's empathizing the world thing that I always try to promote.
Right.
Because in the end, it's all one globe,
That's right.
So we will talk a lot about Africa and India. So enjoy it.
Okay.
Enjoy the journey to the world, the scammy side of the world.
Okay.
So, today we are actually talking to Ben Taylor, also known as Pleasant Green on YouTube. And you are, I would say, a scammer expert, right? Actually, on your Twitter, you say you like to make friends with
an
scammers.
expert on scammers, not a scammer expert, because that makes it sound like he's really good at scamming.
Right.
I guess some people call me that. I wouldn't call myself an expert. I'm just a random guy who seems to be a magnet for these types of people, and I've had some funny experiences, some weird experiences, and I just like to tell my stories to anyone who's interested. And so that's kind of how that's kind of where I come from and who I am.
How did that actually start? Did you hit your head one morning on the toilet and got the idea to make videos about spamming and replying to spam emails, which is one thing you always learn: don't reply to spam emails, ignore them. And you are totally doing the opposite.
I know. It's probably smarter to do what you've just said, but one day I just thought that someone needed to teach these guys a lesson and get back at them, and so I made my first ever YouTube video about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and there seemed to be an audience for that type of videos. People enjoyed, learning the other side of the scammer world, and so I uploaded my first video, and it seemed to kind of take off, and I learned that there was an audience, and there was for that type of thing, and so thus my YouTube channel was born, and I just continued to respond to every message that I could, trying to see if there was a story to tell or if there was something that I could learn from these guys, and here we are today.
So it was out of curiosity.
Kind of. I mean, the way it started is that I was trying to sell my camera online one day, and someone, sent me an email from PayPal, and they tried to make me think that I was being paid, but they had actually forged an email to make it look like it was a payment from PayPal. And so the idea was to make me think that I had been paid so that I would go ahead and ship my camera to them in Nigeria. And when I learned that the email was fake, luckily I learned that it was fake before I sent my camera, but I was just mad at the whole thing because he had wasted my time and he'd almost ripped me off. And even though I didn't fall for it, I know that thousands of people do every day around the world, around the country. And so I just thought, someone needs to teach these guys a lesson. And I thought, well, why not me? And so I kind of messed with them a little bit. I made a funny video of me sending a nasty package of, well, you could go watch the video to see what it was, but I sent.
I saw the video. Yes.
I sent them something that was not my camera, and I thought it was kind of a funny little joke that I played, and so I thought maybe other people will find this funny. So I made a video about it, and I put it up on YouTube. And so yeah, it was kind of it was kind of just me finding. I just thought, hey, I'm a funny guy. Look what I just did. Maybe someone will appreciate this. So that's kind of how it started for me.
I have to admit, you are a great storyteller. I mean, in that particular video, you told how you were emailing to the sender company asking why there's no tracking information on the way to Africa and all that stuff. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I would do, because I'm excited if he got the package and why is there a hole in the tracking information and all that stuff. That's totally sounding like me. So I see myself in that a bit. But of course, it's a bit different to actually go out and talk to those people. Because I guess normally as a layman, you think like, oh, those people are not very intelligent and they're just trying to rip off from my money. But actually, when people watch your channel, you get a different perspective on those spammers. I mean, suddenly some comments on the videos were like, oh, he is a bad guy, he's scamming people, ripping off money from others, but I'm feeling sorry for him because he has to do that.
Yeah, I think that's something that I try to do differently on my channel, is I try to show a different side to these internet scams. I try to show that these are actually real people. They have real lives. They live in countries with extreme poverty, and sometimes they don't have a better option. And so sometimes the situation is a little bit more complicated than that. I have learned that there are some people who are they're just good people, and they just don't know what else to do to make money. And so I try to just try to humanize these scammers a little bit, and I'd much rather see them work for money and make an honest living for themselves. A lot of them kind of aren't willing to do that, or they just don't know how to do that. But at the end of the day, these are people, and I want to help if I can. If I can't help them, then at least maybe I can help other people become aware of these types of scams and how they work. I've gotten lots of emails from people all over the world who say that they were about to cash a fake check and they Googled it and they saw my videos and somehow they found out it was a scam, and so I saved them potentially thousands of dollars. And so I guess I like to humanize people, help people, and if I can't do that, I want to at least highlight these scams and protect people from potentially losing their money.
I mean, actually, you even got famous with that. I mean, for example, this one story, I think his name was Joerg from Liberia.
Yeah.
That went totally through the roof and even to press. And I saw the series, and it was like a totally game changer for you, because you started to think different about people living in Africa, because you admitted that first you thought, okay, there is a scammer messaging me on Facebook, and suddenly you were in a situation that you had a business partner instead.
Yeah.
And you had to be careful that you are not the one who scams,
Yes.
So tell us maybe a bit about that, because I think to remember that at first it was like a little game for you, like a joke you played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I had somebody from Africa, Liberia, who was asking me for money, or he wanted me to send him electronic devices so that he could resell them, and we could form a little partnership. And I didn't trust him. I thought he was trying to scam me the way that other person tried to scam me and tried to get me to send him my camera. But I started to conduct a little bit of a social experiment. I wanted to see if this person would be willing to actually work for me. He wanted me to do all these weird things, but I thought, well, what if he would work for me? And so I just kind of threw the idea out there, and I said, hey, what if I hire you to take pictures of me and for me? And my idea really was just to send him on a wild goose chase to keep him from scamming other people. I just wanted to keep him busy. And it was kind of, funny to me. And I thought, hey, I'm having fun with this guy. I guess I'll document it and put it on YouTube for the world to join me in this adventure. But over the course of several weeks of my interacting with him, I learned that he really was just a poor hustler, or just kind of a guy who was down on his luck and didn't have a better way to make money. And so he was willing to do the work, and he practiced his photography, and he worked hard, and he was honest. And so together we were able to put together a little booklet and sell it online and raise thousands of dollars that not only helped him, but the people in his community. And so it really opened up my eyes to see that, not everybody out there is a bad guy. There are some people who just don't have better ways to make a living. And so I ended up actually going to Africa and meeting him. And that was kind of a cool adventure to see that part of the world and kind of just have some empathy for people in those situations. So it turned out, it began as kind of a little prank, and it turned into kind of a life-changing experience for me.
Yeah, what most people don't know, except if they are my Facebook friends, actually, one of my other hobbies is talking to people from abroad, strangers. And actually, I had this situation that I met a person on Facebook from Uganda, and she said, oh, I need work. I need some money. And I said, like, hey, I have those video interviews that I'm doing, and we are doing a magazine on a diskette for the Commodore 64. So if you can transcribe the video for me, that would be great, and I would give you $50 for an hour. And
That's
actually,
great.
the thing is, that was exactly this year where PayPal split off from eBay and started making service in Africa. So that was the moment where payment was pretty easy, and I paid her in advance. And she was so freaked out, like, are you crazy? One thing you learn as a Western European, don't send money to Africa in advance before the work is done.
Did she do the work for you?
She did, of course, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And
See?
AJ actually made jokes about it in the magazine once. He said, like, yeah.
But now people are generally, a lot of times people are generally good, and to your point, that people are, a lot of times they're down on their luck, and there's a difference between people that are scamming you, like trying to get you to send them their camera for a fake check or something, and people that like work at a scam call center. A lot of these people, they need a job, and it's a job. It's the same, similar with telemarketing here in the U.S. It's a kind of a garbage job, but it's a job, and people don't really like you for it. And do you find that a lot of people that work at these kind of scam call centers are just people trying to make a living, basically?
Yeah.
From what they tell me, yeah.
Well, the way I saw it, I needed work done. I'm not making any living from this hobby here, so it's all going from my pocket, and I want the work to be cheap, but good done. And if I can help somebody affording a living, then it's win-win situation on all sides, and that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to be doing. These aren't really, they're not stupid people. They're just disconnected from the global economy, and they don't have opportunities. But technology is really, connecting the world, and you can go on Fiverr.com or like Upwork, and you can find people in Nigeria or other parts of the world who can give you services, and so I want to open up people's minds and say, hey, if you need something, make the world a better place, and give someone an opportunity in a different part of the world.
And the good thing on those services is they take the money first and only release it when you are satisfied with the work being done. So it's not like you're risking something. But that is also a problem in our global world. I mean, some years ago when eBay started service and PayPal too in Russia, a lot of my Russian friends asked me, how can I buy stuff there? Because Russia has such a bad reputation because of hacking and all that internet crime. I doubt anybody will send me any baby underwear or something, even if I pay them. And I'm like, I'm saying like, well, why don't you try? Money doesn't stink. If the money is coming from Africa or from Russia, I don't mind. I can send the stuff. That is my point of view. But I see that my family and my friends outside of the retro community, they were a bit skeptic about it, So and just recently you started with India and those scam centers. So
yeah, I mean, I was making videos and I was just getting all these messages from people saying, hey, why are you picking on the Nigerians so much? Why are you so mean to Africans? And I'm like, I don't write this stuff. I mean, I kind of do, but like, these are stories that happen to me. I mean, these are scammers who contact me, and just because they happen to be Nigerian doesn't mean that I'm targeting. I'm just telling my story the way it's happening, and it seems to be that most of the scammers that I've encountered are in Nigeria. Well, so recently I met an individual who reached out to me with some information behind a scam in India, and I'm like, oh, great! I want to cover scams that aren't necessarily in Nigeria. I want to show that people all around the world can be bad. There's good eggs and bad eggs in every country. Here in the United States, there's scammers. I hope to release a video soon of a scam that I've kind of uncovered here over in California. So yeah, I mean, there's scams everywhere. It's not just Nigeria. It's not just Africa. So yeah, I try not to just pick on one, country and generalize one group of people. And so it's been kind of fun to kind of, diversify and kind of see what's been going on in other parts of the world. Because as far as like tech scams go and social security scams, which are, growing, yeah, those typically originate in India where the technology is a little bit more advanced.
Which is funny because in your video comments, first people were like, "Oh, you are showing how the scammers are doing bad stuff. That's good." And over the course of a few videos, it changed, and people were like, "Oh, don't be so mean to this person." And especially on the latest India series, people were like, "Oh, this is just clickbaiting. How do we know it's even true? How do we know this even happened?" So your audience kind of switched sides, at least from my feeling when I read the comments. I don't know how you see it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I need. I mean, it's good to read the comments, and it's good to understand what your audience wants and how they're reacting to your content. But if you get too much in the weeds in those comments, it could depress you. I'm telling a true story, and I'm telling a story about an individual who, if he were to get identified, they'd open him up, they'd kill him, or leave him on the street. And so I've had to be very careful with what I can share and how I portray his voice. And so doing that, people are like, "Oh, you can't. This is obviously fake." And I'm like, "Well, I can see why you'd think that, but." I'm trying to be responsible and protect the identity of the people who contact me as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the people who watch my videos. Yeah, they make it possible for me to make a little bit of money and to keep doing this type of thing. And so I want to make content that they appreciate. But at the same time, I've got to be myself, and I've got to be real, and right. Got to protect people.
Can you tell us a little bit about the current one with the current series with the Indian scammer with all this? Because again, we're kind of a retro mag, so some of our listeners and or viewers may not be really up on this, and we'll put links to all this stuff in the description so people can follow along. But can you give us a little bit of background on exactly how this current series came to be, and what sorts of things that you're exploring in it?
Yeah, I've made a lot of videos that can kind of stand on their own, where it's just me kind of exposing a scam. But then sometimes I like to do videos that extend beyond more than one video. You brought up this experience with me and the individual from Liberia. I interacted with him over the course of a year. And so I made a series of videos, and I invited people to, keep checking back and following along with me. And that really irritated a lot of people, because they're like, the cliffhangers, they're killing us, or they're too short. Why don't you just make one big video? And I'm like, well, then that would be 2 hours long, and it would take me a year to make. So I like to make, so sometimes I meet individual scammers that, I have ongoing relationships with. And so I make a series of videos. Not just one video. And so that's what's been going on with this current series that I'm working on. Is I had an individual who stumbled across my channel, and he is a current scammer in India. He works at a call center, and his job is to call people and convince them that they're going to be arrested by the IRS or the CRA if they don't pay a certain amount of money. And people fall for this. And so, he has finally started to realize that he can't live this way anymore, and he wants to kind of expose this scam. And he emailed me, and he said, "Hey, I'll tell you everything." And I'm like, okay, that's interesting to me. It might be interesting to my viewers. So I'm trying to tell his story a little bit, with some of the experiences that he's had and some of the information that he has. And it's really interesting to me, and then hopefully it's interesting to other people. But at the end of the day, my goal is to, show the world how these scams work, mm-hmm. And just kind of bring awareness to them. And I don't know, hopefully maybe one day the FBI will become interested and want to go shut down these call centers. But yeah, my goal is just to peel back the curtain just to, I mean, I'm very interested in people. I'm interested in these things and how they work. And so I want to show kind of the world what's been going on with these scams. And so hopefully it's interesting to some people. It sure is to me.
Now, why aren't the FBI, because I know that in one of the most recent videos was an attempt to get a raid happening on one of these things, and it seemed like law enforcement wasn't really all that interested in it. Now, why is that? Because you would think, these are fairly complicated and pretty big operations, and it almost falls within. It is a form of organized crime, really.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they be interested in following through with this stuff?
Well, I think that they are interested. I think that the FBI and the RCMP they want it stopped, but it might be more work. I mean, it's hard work. You can't just take an address and hand it over to the Indian government and say, okay, go raid this place. They need evidence. They need they need a dollar amount. They need to verify that X amount of dollars has been lost because of this call center at this address and these people. And I mean, they need to build a case, just like we would here in the States or in another country. You can't just go barge in because you got a tip.
Right.
And so I think that there's a lot of work that they've got to do behind the scenes to do that. And so I don't know. I can't say. I don't work for the government. There have been raids that have taken place, but you got to also understand that the people who run these types of scams in India, they can pay off the government to look the other way, and that happens quite a bit. So There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of unknowns, and so for whatever reason, it's harder said than done, I guess.
Now, with some of these, and I just alluded to organized crime, do you ever get worried about, because I don't know how deep this stuff goes. Like, if there's you were saying, you're doing your best to disguise the identity of the one person who is giving you information about this. How far would they go? The operators of these scams to go after somebody
like me.
Yeah, like you, or like the guy that's giving you information. Do either of you, have you ever felt like you may be in danger for this sort of thing?
Well, he has, and if you've watched the videos, you'll see that this individual his life has been in danger because of the things that he's been caught doing. I mean, he has literally cost his employers nearly $100,000, and so that's a lot of money that they're leaking because of a mole. And so I mean, they'll do. I mean, what would you do to protect $1 million that you have access to? I mean, it's a scary part of the world, and people won't think twice about leaving you on the side of the road in order to protect your reputation or your millions of dollars. So, I mean, I can only imagine. Have I been in danger? I don't. I mean, I guess I am on the other side of the world. I'm smart. I try to be smart when I interact with scammers, especially ones that are connected to powerful organizations. I mean, I'm using a VPN. I'm very careful with my passwords. I know that there might be some people out there who, I don't know, might have a target on my head. I don't know, maybe. But I guess really they could do that with any other high-profile individual. But I mean, one person I recently interviewed in Nigeria said that I was the most wanted man in Nigeria. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. I mean, if people are going to do what they're going to do, I think that I'm, pretty safe. But I don't know. Maybe I better. Now you got me worried, man. Maybe I should rethink my approach, but no, I try to cover my tracks and be responsible. There's some other really great scam baiters out there that I think have a lot more. I don't know. I think they have a lot larger followings and they have I don't know. I think that they're probably higher targets than me. But that's why I always like to come across as I try to come across as someone as a good guy. Like I want to help people. Most of the scammers that I interact with, I'm just like, hey, you know what? I know you're trying to rip me off, but what if I hire you to do something different? Like I want to be a friend. I want to be a good guy. But some people are convinced that that's the way they're going to be. So I don't know.
And they are still trying to rip you off in the end. Some people, at least.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, they never learn from their mistakes. Even if you reach them a hand, they will not take it. I wonder, did you learn all this stuff? Professionally, IT-wise, or is it just self-taught how you be careful and how to use tracing tools and IP addresses and finding out where that email is coming from?
No, I don't really have a tech background. I work in marketing. I like to make videos for a living, and so I really don't have an IT background. It's really just, I've come to watch other people. I don't know if you know who Jim Browning is. He has a channel where he's from Ireland, and he has a very strong, I think he's a developer, or he has a strong tech background, but he's very smart. He's able to hack into their computers and monitor their and look at their cameras and actually take you inside of these call centers. And so,
I saw that.
Wow. I've learned a couple, little tricks from him that have been interesting. I'd love to do a collaboration with him sometime, but no, I've just kind of learned as I go.
Interesting. And now, how is the perspective from your family and friends? Is it like the kind of feedback I received? Like you are out of your mind dealing with people from those regions?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Nobody. I don't recommend people do what I do. You should probably just ignore and block and walk away. But I feel like I think that there's stories to be told, and like I said, I think people have benefited from my stories, whether they be individuals in these countries or individuals that have nearly fallen for these types of scams. I want to create content that helps and educates. So,
not only that, in that by the grace of God story, even a camera team, I think it was from BBC, flew to Liberia asking Joe, so why didn't you take the $500 that were sent to you instead of giving it to the kids for school material? And his answer was, it would have been dishonest.
Yes.
Like, wow, So
just goes to show you that people aren't always what they seem.
Yeah. I think those videos have so much to teach, even social wise, not only scam wise.
Yeah, and I hope that I can find more people like Joel. I want the world to know that the world's not such a bad place, that there are good people where you think there might not be any, and there's good in people. Like Darth Vader, they might have some evil on the outside, but deep down there's some good in there. And so I try to turn people. I haven't been so successful with some I have, but I believe in people. And so the world isn't always an easy place, but technology is a cool thing, and it allows us to connect with each other and use our talents in different ways. And so these people they're smart. They're able to convince other people that they're government agents or that they're romance partners, but they should be able to figure out how to make a couple bucks a week to feed their families.
Yeah, that's true.
I want people to understand that.
Of course, the Joel part is probably not the best way either, but at least he tried out of desperation to find a better way than scamming people.
Yeah, when he offered to do work, that's kind of what stuck with me, is that here's a guy who's willing to try something, and I think that more people will find more success when they show that they are willing to practice, to work hard, to do something different in order to create value for you. And so And so, yeah, I probably wouldn't have stuck around with Joel if he wasn't willing to work with me. If he just said, no, we're going to do it my way, or I'm going to go find someone else, I would have said, okay, well, good luck.
Well, the thing is, probably at the beginning, he didn't know that he acted like the typical spammer or something.
Yeah.
Because he had good intention, and he didn't know what is wrong to do and what is right to do.
Yeah,
you had to tell him. You had to teach him.
Yeah, unfortunately, the scammers of the world have kind of ruined it for everybody else. That anytime you get a message from a stranger online, it's like, oh, that's a scam.
Yeah.
And so, so yeah, Joel wasn't aware that probably wasn't the best approach.
And regarding India, I actually had a phone call with Microsoft Activation Hotline last week, and actually I was transferred to an Indian call center guy.
A legitimate one?
Yes, because I was calling Microsoft, so I knew that I want something from them. So I knew, okay, this is not a scam, and of course it all went well. I got my Office package activated, but I was like, sometimes I find out that even though I have a positive perspective towards strangers from other countries, sometimes I'm really thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Is this person genuine or not? It's sometimes a bit hard to step out of your routine of thinking. I don't know if this is the same for you.
I tend to be more open than most people because I'm looking for content. I'm looking for stories. I'm looking for material that I could use in my videos. But yeah, it's a very bizarre thing. And again, I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. I don't recommend engaging with people who want the worst for you. but if you're willing to give it a try and learn from, I guess, some of the lessons that I've learned from, that there's good in people and you can work with them to achieve a better goal and make some money, then go for it.
You kind of go head on into a lot of these, as far as, responding to and following up with these scams. But for just the average person, how do you avoid these things? Because some of these scams are getting increasingly, they're getting very, and I had just the word in my mind and I just lost them. They're getting very sophisticated as far as the information that they can get and how they can go after. And I'll give you an example. A friend of mine just recently had a party and they had Olive Garden cater it. And they received a phone call a couple of days before the event from a woman that said, I'm so-and-so from Olive Garden and we're just having trouble running your credit card. So I'm wondering if you can get, this information. And they knew that there was a catering order. They knew that when it was and all this stuff. And fortunately, my friend was smart enough to say, I don't know the number that you called from, so I'm going to call you back. I'm going to call the restaurant back. And the woman was like, okay, great. I'll talk to you in a minute. And she called the Olive Garden back, and they're like, we don't charge your card until after we've delivered. That wasn't us at all. And like how do people even, it's getting that sophisticated in that, somehow this information is out there. Somehow they can find out all this. First, do you have any idea how this is happening, and how can people avoid falling into these sorts of traps?
Oh, I mean, I guess you just got to be on your toes. Like you said, I mean, that was probably the smart thing to do to make sure that you're speaking to Olive Garden. Maybe call them back if you don't recognize the number. I always tell people, when you're, most of the scams originate from overseas in Nigeria or India. And so when you try to say, hey, can I call you? They'll say, oh, I can't. My phone doesn't work. Or I can only text on this phone. Or I prefer this. I mean, that's a red flag. You should always want to talk to somebody. If you're working with someone with, Microsoft or your mortgage company or whatever, if if you're suspicious, you should probably just, call the office, ask for a supervisor, say, is this really you guys? Are you asking me to do this? I think you just need to kind of, does it pass the sniff test? If it doesn't, then you need to probably just call, the legitimate number and ask for a supervisor and verify. So those things, I guess. That was, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some are pretty tricky. I mean, I know we have the Scene World homepage. I know there's an imprint. I have a phone number in there because by law in Germany I have to. So I got actually a scam from America. I got a call from Google Maps. And they're asking me, so it's a Scene World magazine. Is this the correct address? Is this the correct phone number? And the intention is to get me saying the word yes. Because then they can make a fake recording when they are sending me something, and in which I would say yes, and that would be an agreement, and I would over the phone sign a contract with my voice.
Really, that's different. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, that's something that's happening in Germany since a couple of years.
Oh boy.
So when people ask me questions that only allow me to say yes. And want me to confirm something, I also taught my mother and my father always say no.
Okay.
So I kept saying no, and I said, like, I don't see why Google Maps should call me.
Yeah.
And said, well, why don't you send me an email? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that originated from the States, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course that email never came.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was walking home from work one day. I was walking to the train station, and somebody came up to me and he says, "Hey, I need $10 to buy a train ticket." I said, well, I don't have $10 on me, but if you walk with me to the train station, I will buy you a ticket once we get there. And the person said, oh, okay, I'll walk with you. And so we start walking, and it's about a mile away. And as we're walking, you could just sense that he's very uneasy. He's uncomfortable because, he didn't really need a train ticket. He needed $10.
Right.
And so after about a minute, he's like, I left something over here. I'll be right back. And he just ran off, and he never came back. So so sometimes, it's kind of like that. If you play along with them for long enough, they'll realize, oh, they're not, they've called my bluff.
Right,
so
right.
Something similar with your story, I guess.
Well, the thing is, it's always a cat and mouse game, and you have to learn what could be the new scam.
Yeah.
Because when you are on the phone, you have no time you have no chance to make a mistake. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because fighting the contract that you agreed to without knowing is so exhausting. Lower. Fighting back with emails and letters and all that stuff. That's not something I want to do.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Especially when they say they're from the government and that they have a police officer who's ready to arrest you if you don't comply within the hour.
Yeah. Right.
So come to my house, arrest me.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm waiting for you. Do you want some cake?
I mean, they're very sophisticated. Like, I was on the phone with an Indian scammer, and he said, I'm going to have the policeman call you right now. And so I received a call about a minute later, and they had, I guess they had acquired like a Google Voice number from my city. So it looked like someone in my city was actually calling me. And so I picked it up, and they said, hello, my name is Detective Charlie Brown or whatever from the Salt Lake City Police. And it was funny to hear this Indian person try to mimic an American accent. But I know it was happening. But they're creative. And if you're maybe older, and if you're not tech savvy and you're not aware of how they can do these types of things, you'll believe anything.
Right. Right.
So I wonder, is there any other goal you have, any other stories you have in the pipe that you can talk about? Or is it mostly Nigeria, Africa, and India? Or, as I said, this American scam that is coming up. But there must be a lot more countries where there are scammers.
I'm sure it happens in every country. Every country's got scammers somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you could look at my email right now and just look at all the people who are saying, I'm a scammer. I'm from Ukraine, or I'm from Bangladesh. Help me. I'll sell you my insider info. Maybe I should quit my full-time job and just do this full-time, because there's so many stories to tell, and I have a family, and this started out as like just a hobby for me, but it's just blown up, and it's shown me, all the people around the world and all the stories and all the unfortunate situations that result result in scamming. So I don't know. I hope to just continue to open people's eyes. I mean, I can only cover the fake check scam so many times,
Right.
but I'm going to look for opportunities to educate people on scams that I'm not aware of or I haven't heard of, and maybe just come up with ways to better protect yourself or combat these organizations.
One thing would interest me. You did this short movie about the story in Liberia, and you actually hired a video staff team with editors, cameramen, actors.
Yep.
And wasn't that kind of risky to invest so much money in advance and not knowing if you get the money back by YouTube ads and a sponsor?
Yeah, I invested about $2,000 in this team in Nigeria to produce a little 10-minute movie for me. And I mean, that's kind of an investment. To be frank with you, I did not make that money back in YouTube advertising. It didn't really go viral. It didn't break the internet. I did not make that money back in YouTube advertising. I did make it back through a sponsor. There was a sponsor who really liked what we were doing. They liked the message. They liked the idea that let's help people by empowering them and putting them to work. And so this sponsor was able to kind of help fund this movie, which was really cool. And so we broke even on the movie. It was, like I said, it didn't win an Oscar. It didn't win any big awards. It didn't break the internet. But what it did was it broke even. And for a couple of weeks, it put a couple of people in Nigeria to work that wouldn't have had work otherwise. And it made them feel like they were part of something bigger than they were. And I hope that it taught a lesson, and it was sure fun for me to do. And so I just want people to kind of understand that, life doesn't need to be a terrible, scary place. You can make money in creative ways.
Well, the thing is, you actually made 2 attempts, one not so successful, and the second one that was really good. And the thing is, it is really very superb quality. So I wouldn't have guessed it was from Africa, you know. So it's showing that even in Africa you have professionals, that can work on an international base on a movie that is not meant for Africa.
Yeah.
So it's not like a Bollywood short film or something. It was really very, very good.
Yeah, and the imagery, the designs, the thumbnails, all that stuff was designed by artists in Nigeria. And so, I don't know, next time that you need something, like a design or a voiceover or something, maybe consider using someone in Africa, giving them a job, helping them kind of build their portfolio or become somebody.
So where can people go to find out, to see your videos, to find out what you're doing and follow along at home?
Yeah, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Pleasant Green. That's the name, just Pleasant Green. I think youtube.com/pleasantgreen will get you there. You could also go to my website that I built to sell Joel's book and to kind of spread his message and his story. That's bydgraceofgod.com.
Okay. Actually, 2 books, right?
Yeah, so Joel made that little booklet with his pictures, and that's really what took off. And then I went to Africa and I met him and I took pictures with him, and I just thought, wow, this has been such a incredible experience for me. It's just a story that will just be a part of my life forever. And so I wrote that book. It's just a short little picture book. It's 60 pages, and it was just kind of my reflections on what I'd gone through. And so, yeah, I sell that book there, and all the proceeds that come from that book, we use for charitable efforts in Liberia. And so we've been able to do some cool things. We've been able to fund some scholarships, help some schools, and build some water filtration units that provide clean water to children who attend school over there. And so, yeah, it's a cool opportunity that has sprung from what I thought was an internet scam.
Awesome.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Great. So we'll put links to all that in the podcast description so that people can see it, and it should be somewhere on the screen right about here, right about now.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you took the time talking to us about it.
Sure.
Wonderful, because I thought it's a unique experience.
It is.
It's really something unique you do, and you do good to the people, and you never thought, I guess, in your life to do charity work. So.
No, and it's been cool to me because I've been able to see people donate to charity who probably never otherwise would have. I've got 15-year-old kids who watch my video, and they get excited about these stories, and so you're seeing them go to their moms and saying, "Hey, can I have $10 so I can buy this little booklet?" And so you're seeing these kids who want to be part of the story, and they're actually donating to charity when they otherwise wouldn't have. And I think that's something that the storytelling can do.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for sitting with us.
Thanks a lot.
Sure, you bet. Thanks. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes, keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Yes, absolutely. Bye.
Whoa, I'm in a different place again, and Joerg is gone. Anyway, that was Ben Taylor from Pleasant Green. Again, you can check out his YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/pleasantgreen. There is also a website. It's bythegraceofgod.com. This should all be flashing on the screen right now. There's also a Twitter, which is twitter.com/pleasantgreen, or @pleasantgreen. Links to everything in the podcast description, as well as on the screen in front of you if you're watching the video version of this. Until next time, you know where to find us. See ya.